Wise Words presents Pastor Orlando Brown. August the 1st, 1960. A young man steps onto English soil, bracing against the cold, not just of the wind, but of the world unsure where to place him. Orlando arrived with dreams, only to find a landscape of smoke-choked skies and closed doors. Yet in the face of racism and rigid barriers, an assistant that told him no, he did something extraordinary. He built a life. And then he helped build a community. From the joiner's shop at ICI to the front lines of Huddersfield's anti-racism movement, Orlando's journey was never just about survival, it was about service. As a pastor, a mentor, a street angel, he turned struggle into strength, fighting for education, unity, and a future where young, Black, African Caribbeans could stand tall. This is the story of a man who refused to be defined by limits. A man who, decades later, walks the streets, not with bitterness, but with open hands. Join us as Orlando Brown shares his wise words, his truth, a life of resilience, a life of faith, and the unshakable belief that change begins when we serve one another.
I arrived in England 1st of August 1960 at Heathrow Airport. And from there, and when I coming out of the plane and the landing, the first thing I could feel, it was like the cold start to just biting into me, and I just said, oh my goodness, it's August and it's like this, what would it be like in winter? And however, when they took me a coach to King Cross Station, and I catch a train from King Cross to Huddersfield. My first impression of Huddersfield was, my goodness, there are so many ugly buildings and smoke. Sometimes I wonder if I can see where I'm walking to. Yeah, I wasn't happy about it at all. Well, when I arrived in Huddersfield, I found it was quite challenging because I had two addresses. My sister was living at her home and she decided to buy a home for herself. And she gave me two addresses. She said, if you call to the first place and I'm not there, then you should come to Beulah Road. And when I called at the first address, these people, I could not understand one word that they were saying, but all I know, when I said, Carmen, she said, no, gone. They were Polish. And so I came back and I took the bus and came to Long Ride Bridge. And when I got at 26 Beulah Road, and ring the bell, to my surprise, the door opened and a little lad, just about 2 years old, coming towards me. That was my nephew, my first nephew. And I was so pleased, I just dropped my brown suitcase and just pick him up and hold him in my hands. And my sister just looked at me and just said, what? He don't goes to anybody. I said, well, I am his uncle. You know, the local treat me very well. I could not, unfortunately, people complain about racism, but I could not complain about that because I was at my sister's home. Yes, I have my own room because she have a new house and I have my own room, and I was there for 2 weeks before I start work. When I believe that when you came to this country, you start work straight away, the way how I heard they said it. But she said, no, have a break. And so my brother-in-law, that was Sydney, got a job at ICI for me in the joiner shop. And I spent about 6 years there. Well, I see a little of racism that could have happened, but what I found out, if you put yourself at the place, it will come. But prevention is better than the cure, so I do not go places where I know that there's racism. For instance, from a child growing up, I don't go to pub or club or so on, and I know that's where all those things happen. So I was happy not going to those places. For the black community in Huddersfield, it wasn't very easy because they could not get to mingle as often as they would like to do, so they have to try to make their own entertainment. And because of that, I always wonder if one person can have 4 or 5 birthdays for the year, because almost every Saturday there is a birthday party. So they mingle with each other and goes around, and those who have homes especially, and so on. And I found it was quite okay. But only thing about it is sometimes they play music and it's loud and the neighbors, they complain, the white neighbors. Yes. Well, for the black community, job-wise, it's mostly not, to me at that time it was like 80% was labor. Whatever job, whatever skill that you have when you came from Jamaica, you come here, you do laboring. And after a while, when you get settled down and they see that you can do something, you will get a chance, but you don't get the qualification that you have, you don't be able to use it. I remember as I was working in the journal shop at ICI, and it was mostly machine. And when after a while, I get used to those machines, I could operate them. But when I says to them that, why can't I do this? He said, well, you are not in the union and you haven't done your 5 years apprenticeship. So I just accept that. Yes, more or less. There are some guys who I knew that came to this country as mechanic or teachers, and when they applied for the job, they said you'd have to go retrain yours again. And so they just said, why should I? They just get another job. It made the black community feel very unhappy because you come to a mother country and you believe that you would come here and what you learn from home, you come and put it into perfection and be able to get paid for it, and it wasn't happening at all. There was some resentment in many ways. I've seen guys who, I remember once I was off work on a holiday for a week, and I saw some guys in Huddersfield walking about, driving about, and I just thought to myself, shouldn't these guys be working? So I said to one of them, are you on shift? He said, no. I said, what are you doing? He said, I'm not working. My foreparents done all the labor they can do and slave work. I'm enjoying the fruit of it now. In other words, he just go to sign up at the labor exchange and don't do, and I just thought, no man, I couldn't do this. I feel bad about it because I just thought, no man, if you left from Jamaica or Trinidad or Grenada and come here to work, you should come and work and have it in mind, because 90% of Jamaicans, as far as I know, came here to spend 5 years and to return back to the Caribbean. And to come and to live off other people, that wasn't done. No, I was unhappy about it. From where we came from in the 60s, or some of them from the 50s, and where we are today is much better in racism, because you are black, 90% accept you that you are black and so on, and if there is a problem, then you can solve it. Because I joined the black community, against racism in the early 60s. I was invited to a meeting at the town hall 1965 where they were celebrating the International Cooperation Year from the United Nations. And from there they formed a committee about to look after the ethnic minority in Huddersfield. And we carried on from there until we had what you call Community Relation Council, Community Relation Officer. And it went in Huddersfield and go on for, I was in it for 20 years. The Community Relation Council, it started off with voluntary workers from all about, Asian, West Indian, Polish, Irish, Ukrainian, Welsh. There was about 12 different organizations, and it was doing very well. And the first voluntary liaison officer we had was a lady named, I forget her name now, Kulvietis. That's right, named Kulvietis. And she done it voluntary without pay for a good while, and then from then on, we employ somebody working as a full-time. And it went on very well, and we actually had a black community relation officer. This guy was doing a very good job, but his hands were tied by some individuals who just believed that it should be their people instead of West Indian. I knew that. And this guy, he spent about a year or two, and he just feel like, I can do better than this, so he just packed it in. And from then on, it's been run by Asian. Yes, I know one of the guy who is a good friend of mine, and I remember how he got this, how he become chairman. It's funny about this, but one of his friends came to me at my home. I was living at Beulah Road, and said, "Mr. Brown, I need you to come to be the chairman." I said, "No, I don't want to be chairman." He said, "If you don't come to be chairman, then people are going to get it who shouldn't." I said, I've been on the executive council and I've seen how it run, and I have more than enough to do. I don't want to be chairman. And that day, there was only one person up for chair. So there was nobody again. So that individual get chairman and was there for several years. Yes. And so when I look and see, I just thought, because unfortunately West Indian wasn't putting as much as they should put in, the few that is there, it looks as if you haven't got the strength that you should have. As far as I'm concerned with the black community today, it's not get much better, because I remembered, and this might sound ridiculous, but I tell you, I remember that we had meeting planned already with black community, and black came inside here, tried to disrupt the meeting in such a way that the person that's in charge said, "You know something, this meeting, we're going to start to change it from being public to private, so I'll have it at my home." Yes, I've seen it happen, and I'm talking about Jamaica National, and it reached from there that this individual built it up privately, and that's why we have Jamaica National today. There's some individual who's decided in their mind that they're going to try their uttermost best to make sure that Huddersfield stay on the map. And I give them all the praise for what they've done up to today. It's very interesting you ask a question, how do we get along today from where we're coming from? My first friend that I had in Huddersfield was a Grenadian. I went to work, as I said, mentioned I work at ICI, and in those days you didn't get much. If you get £5 a week, that's a lot of money. And I remember the first, and normally you don't get paid until 2 weeks when you start work. And I remember the first week when I start work, this Grenadian guy give me a 2 and 6. You know, the 2 and 6, that means, I think it's, how much is it now? I can't remember. But he gave it, and I said, "No, it's all right." He said, "No, it's all right, you take it. You won't get paid until 2 weeks' time." And we become friends. And so we have friends, Grenadian, Barbados, you name it. The reason why I believe you heard so much mention about Jamaica, because it was the largest group in Huddersfield. And because of that, I've seen people who, not even from Jamaica, And they've been asked, where you're from? They said Jamaica, because Jamaican name was so popular. And I've seen Jamaican who don't born in Kingston, they're born in 14 parishes. And when they asked where you're born, they said Kingston. And they said, what part of Kingston? They can't say because they're born in Westmoreland or St. Elizabeth or so on, you see. But Jamaica was very popular in Huddersfield because I understand it was the first black people that came to Huddersfield, Caribbean, was from Jamaica. From where we're coming from and where we are now, I don't think we've gone backward. I think we moved forward a bit, but we could have done better. We could have done better because the black community today is still struggling. Not as much as they did in the 50s and 60s, but they're still struggling because the youngsters, they still have the qualification and some of them not able to get the job that they are qualified for. The older people, they retire now and more or less relaxing themselves, but it's the younger ones that I'm concerned about. Those that are doing well, I'm glad about it, but those who are not doing well, there's so many different reasons why. Some of them, they just reached in their mind to say, well, what's the point? And that's not good enough. You have to try. As I said, I was a chairman for racism in Huddersfield for a few years. And at that time, the National Front, they were rife, all over the place and so on. And I remember I've been in meeting and they came there to break the meeting up and they had to walk out because they found they were wasting their time. And a lot of black youngsters, I believe if they pursue what they plan for, they would get through. But some of them, they start and because they just feel like they come to a dead end, they just pack up. And it shouldn't be. You should always try. And their parents as well should be able to encourage them. Unfortunately, some parents maybe, they're so busy working, making ends meet, that they don't realize what happened to the youngster, especially the boys. The message that I would give to the black youth, don't look down on yourself. Look up and say, I can do it. If they can, so can I. I remember 1967, the first time we ever had a community park together. And I went up there and they were going to have some race. And I decided and I said, no way I'm going in that race. And when I look and see some men much taller than I am going in that race, I just thought, F. And one guy, he take his shoes off. This guy mean business. And I said, well, if he going to run that race, I'm sure that I won't be lost. I don't think I'll be first, but as long as I'm not the lost. And I'm telling you something, we went in and they said, ready, steady, go. And I went for it, man. And when I stopped, and there was a little bit of card, I don't know what kind of card it was, but there was a bit of card, and I passed. This guy came to me and said, I said, what's your name? I said, why? He said, you won the race. I said, won the race? He said, yes. I said, oh, well, my name is Orlando Brown. I did not expect to win. All I wanted to do is to make sure I'm not lost, and that's what it is with black youngsters. They have to try and say, if there's something there for me, I'm going to try. And if I try my best, then I can't feel bad about it. My hope for the community for Huddersfield is that people will see themselves not as a Jamaican or a Grenadian, but as somebody in England enjoying the beauty of the country, working together in unity and helping each other. I would like to see from the government, well, from the council first, because you have the council and then the government. I would like to see that they cater for some of these black youngsters who they're at school and they can get school report and can see how well they are doing and why are they falling back. Because I remember in the 60s, when my youngsters, they start going to school, I went to school and I want to be a school governor, but I actually got the vote as near as, but it never happened because they don't tell me, but I know that they just said they have enough people there already. Faith can help young people if they find time to relax themselves, meditate, think of who they are, where they're coming from, where they are, and where they are going. But you cannot rush things. If you rush things, they have an old saying that a bird fly too fast past his nest. And I've seen it happen in the West Indies, where they have some bird that we know where the bird nests were, but they go get the feed and then come, and they have to circle and come back. I became a pastor in 1980. I worked with the Church of God in Huddersfield and in Sheffield and also national. And I actually started off in England here as a visiting a Methodist church. And yes, I mentioned about ICI. When I was working there, there's an elderly guy there whose name was Lawrence, and he was like a father to me. And that man is a white guy, but it was strange because this guy, I started working in August. He retired in March and invited me to his home at Waterloo. And in those days, why do not invite black to your home? You go, you work, and if you see on the street, you say hello, and that's it. However, I went, and when I got there, I had this address was 30-something. I wasn't so sure whether it was road or avenue. And I called at the first one, and it was the wrong one. And I could see this lady's face when she came and did the workman, see a black man there. And I said, I just smiled, and I said, is there an avenue? He said, oh, yes, just down the road, However, I just smiled, and off I went. And I saw two elderly lady at the fence talking. And as soon as I got down, one of them said, he's over, he's in the allotment. I said, thank you. Over I went. And I went to this allotment, and it was like a plateau. And it was a beauty. It reminded me of Jamaica. There was plantation everywhere. And when I looked, Lawrence was there in his allotment. And we spent a little time there, and he said, about 5 to 4, he said, about 3:30, he said, because my middle name is Willie, they said they couldn't call me Orlando, so they all know me as Willie Brown. So, but he said Willie, he called me Billy. So I said, Billy, let's go wash our hands and go watch wrestling. I just thought to myself, this guy actually invited me in his home. And I'm telling you, we went down, and the two elderly ladies were still at the fence talking. One of them said, boys, go on in, I'll see you in a minute. And I'm thinking to myself, I have met this lady in my life, and she's taking me as if I'm one of her family. And that was it. From that day, we become family and friends until they died. So, yes, it was good to know people care for you like that way. When I meet up with Lawrence, he go to a club that they call Tuckage. And Tuckage is a place where ex-soldiers go from the First and Second World War. Although I wasn't in the war, but it was a Christian group, and I said I want to be part of the Christian community. And I start going there, and then he says to me, do you go to church? I said, yes, but I haven't seen a church that I used to go to in England. He said, well, I go to a Methodist church, you could come with me. And I came, and I went to St. Paul's at Dalton, and after the service finished, he said, there is one nearby you at Thornton Lodge. You could go there. And I went there, and they accept me. It was all white. There was no black people there. But they accept me in such a way that 1962, that was 1960, 61. 1962, they sent me over to Wales as a delegate to an international group. And I couldn't believe it. They pay my fare and everything and so on. And so I spent 12 years in Methodist. And from there, I reached a stage that I feel as if there's something more that I should be doing. And there's a friend of mine where I was working, play guitar, and I thought, if this guy play guitar, I need to learn to play. And by learning to play, we start even in a group, and from a group, we start to run a service. And from there, I joined the Pentecostal, and that's where I came into Pentecostal. And then I think it was in 1976, I become a member of the Huddersfield Church. And from there on, working as a Sunday school teacher, van driver, Sunday school teacher, deacon, and evangelism director, and that's where the ministry started from and built up. Well, very interesting about what made me started is because of the group I was in, and this guy was an evangelist, and we start going out on Sunday. I stopped going to Methodist and start going out on Sunday knocking on doors, and from there on we start to run a Sunday school up at what they call chapel, Teapot Chapel up at Halifax Hall Road, and we had about 70 youngsters coming. And then it worked out that it was so untidy. On a Saturday night they have show, sometimes dog show and so on. You have to go and clean it up. So we have to leave and went down to Fartown, Fartown Junior School. And from there it was getting too small. And then I started to come to this New Testament church. And it's from there that I started to do Sunday school, and from there on build up to where I was. I met my wife in Jamaica as youngsters growing up together, school friends. And when I came to England, I decided in my mind that I'm not going to stay the 5 years, but when I realized that that's what everybody say and they stay longer, I said, I am not stopping this school on my own. So I sent for her. I wrote my wife a letter, just invite her that would like her to come to England because I'm not going back to Jamaica yet, you see. And we keep corresponding, and she always writes me some really cheeky letters, you know. In other words, say she's not coming or whatever it is. And I wrote some, and I have to find words because, you know, you couldn't telephone those days. You have to find words to really let you think. And then she wrote back to me once and said, "Word is wind." And I just thought, what? But you know something? That wind blew in my direction because the 19th of September 1963, I think it was 63, 64, she came to England. And we got married in November that year. In those days, if you send for someone, you have to marry within a certain time, or they have to have a job. I didn't mind one bit because I sent for her to marry her. And then we had our first child in 65. And then the next one 2 years after. And then the next one was 8 years after. And so on. Yeah. So we have 3 children, and 2 sons and a daughter, and 6 grandchildren. My eldest granddaughter, she's 22 now. And my grandson is 15. And then the other 4, that case, he is 6, he'll be 7 next month. And then the twins, Ember and Ennis, and then the youngest one, Nia. She'll be 3 later this month. And so on. What I do voluntarily? Well, I'm telling you that I've a member of the Street Angel, actually founder member of the Huddersfield Street Angels, that will be 10 years old next year. And that is on a Saturday evening, we go out in town center from about 10 o'clock until 3, just to make sure that the town is safe and that people enjoy themselves. And if there's any problem, we don't go do anything about it. We just let the CCTV know about it and let the police sort it out. That is one, and that is from churches together. There's maybe about 20 to 50, 15 to 20 churches take part in it. And that's the beauty of being a Christian working together in the community. And then you have Huddersfield Royal Infirmary. I've been a chaplain there, voluntary chaplain, for about 17 years. And that is a very, very welcome job that I do, because you go and you visit, you don't know who you're going to visit. And you'll go to a bed there that somebody you've never seen before. And sometimes you go to spend 5 minutes, you might finish or spend 15 minutes. Just talking to them, encourage them, and listen to what they have to say. Then we have what you call as well in Huddersfield, workplace chaplaincy. This is organized by the Methodists, and what you do, I'm part of the system. Although I'm not a Methodist member, but I'm still in Methodist. We go to the shop people and talk with them, just encourage them, just pass by and say, hi, how is your day? How is business? And so on. And it's amazing the time that you spend with them, how they appreciate it. And after a while, you get used to them so much that as soon as you go in, before you ask them, they are asking you, how are you today? And so on. That's another voluntary work. The next one is I do chaplaincy at a Methodist home, you call it Bradley Court. And that is one that you go and you spend time with the tenant. What I do, I go visit them, and sometime on a Friday we have what you call a sing-along. And everybody enjoy what's going on. It's a community that I really love. No matter where I go, I want to come back to Huddersfield because there's great things in Huddersfield. The senior citizens of the church, we spend so much quality time together, get them to do computer, get them to do mobile phone and so on. They just get clever. Because you see, don't look at the age and to say age will make you can't do anything. Age is experience, and you got it, use it.